able to share some of the beautiful thoughts from Sherry Anshara. My name is Becky Norwood. I'm with Spotlight Publishing, and today's author showcase is Sherry Anshara with her book. You have it with you. Hold it out.
Hold it up. Here it is.
Busting Out of the Matrix, Be Free. So, Sherry, now we can anybody that wants to get a copy of this book, I will type in the link right into the chat box. But Sherry, what does it mean to bust out of the matrix?
Well, the matrix are millions and trillions of boxes. And you know what? If you go to jail, you're in a cell, right? So what happens, our matrix inside of us are all of our cells. And those cells get jailed through our left computer brain by duality's belief systems. And I always ask this, the first letter of the word B, belief is B, first letter of the word system is S, it's BS, without judging it. But those belief systems actually limit us. They limit our ability to create our lives as we choose it in really clear, directive, focused ways. We're always trying to prove ourselves. And the truth is, we are the proof. You're the proof. You're a publisher. I'm the proof. I like to write. I'm a medical intuitive. So we are the proof. But we've been taught that we're not good enough, not deserving. Look at the very wealthy, wealthy people, movie stars, rock stars, all kinds of them. Even I think of that famous computer guy. I'm not going to mention his name. All the money in the world, and yet got cancer, live cancer. What was jailed in that matrix in his liver that prevented him from living?
Hmm. Interesting. And there's so much deeper that goes into that because so many times the state of our emotions is what causes us to be ill or not, to not feel good. And when we're happy, everything seems to just tickle up right along the way it's supposed to. If we're unhappy and sad, or we've undergone things that we have not kind of faced and dealt with, a lot of times it affects our health in very serious ways.
Definitely. And the key is resonance. Resonance, not frequency and vibration, because they're byproducts that is never taught that way. And there is a resonance to disease or illness, and there is a resonance to non-duality clear consciousness. And all disease on this planet, I've been doing what I've been doing as a medical intuitive for over 30 years and invented my method. And what I love about it is it creates practical, real results. And the emotions through our left computer brain are the basis of all disease, of all illness, of all dysfunction, of all addiction, of all cancer, across the board. And this is not a judgment of it, it's just a fact. It is a fact. And one of the things through my Anshara method of accelerated healing and abundance is supporting people, assisting them to get to their truth. Because, Becky, your truth might be different than mine. It doesn't make me right and you wrong or you right and me wrong. But those boxes, we get boxed in the corner. They're the ones that make us wrong. And that's the matrix.
Hmm.
We
That's interesting. And we see that through every aspect of our life. So how do we cut down those what do you call them, cords, or things that really um, kind of bind our hearts?
exactly. And there's the string theory in quantum physics, but they're bands. And so we've been taught that all our answers are from the outside in. It's not. The answers are inside you. And I know that I coined this term in 1991 and was told I was crazy, of course. And I will tell you, read this book. I'm going to have a lot of people telling me I'm crazy. But the funny part of it is, what I wrote about in 1991 on cellular memory turned out to be the facts because people were getting their donors' organs, and they were having the cellular memory. And so that's what happens. But the pure memory of a healthy cell outside of that duality matrix is healthy. The cell knows what to do. I always say the minute the sperm hits the egg, the nose knows to be a nose cell, and the toe is a toe cell. Otherwise, we'd have a fingernail at the end of our nose. And that's brilliance. That's our intelligence and intellect. But it is taken from us through these duality belief systems. Now, I'm not against education. And it started for me, and this was so profound. 8 years old, third grade, raised my hand and said, well, if Columbus discovered America, how come people were living here? And the teacher gave me the most profound answer that stuck inside. Wasn't exactly sure at the time. He said, memorize it and pass the test. And that's when I knew I was not going to learn anything. I'm not wrong in education. I educated myself, but it wasn't a fact. It was a myth. And so many things that we've been taught as facts are myths, even in our DNA. The DNA is a myth. Ooh, that's a big one. Remember, I coined cellular memory in 1991.
Right.
And now in this busting out of the matrix, I explain exactly what the matrix is and how we get trapped. And it's a trap and it's duality. And you can bust out of it. And my first tool, key that I teach, I have clients that are millionaires, billionaires with nothing. And I have worked with babies in the womb and even
Wow.
wrote an article, Baby's First Connection. And we are conscious the minute the sperm hits the egg when we're in, and we are under what we call a contract, the con of the track we get on. So that's why I teach wordology is your biology. And so language has been utilized to control us so we don't have our own language. Now, I'm not talking about English or Italian or Polish or whatever. I'm talking about our own inner language of intelligence and intellect. Wow.
That's huge. So in duality, you talk about the symbols of the duality. You talk about the God program. You talk about the robot program. These different things within the pages of your book. Can you explain those a little bit more?
Okay. Well, here's the symbol of duality, infinity, right? BS,
Keeps on
BS.
going.
I just be it. Oops, I did it again. Had it, lost it, had it, lost it. And that's where we get the idea of past lives. There's no such thing as a past life. You have a time continuum of memory in your body, and that is inside you. And that has an influence on you unconsciously. So, where I assist people to get to the unconscious to get it conscious. Does that make sense? Now, let's take the hourglass. It's just this turned upside, right side up. And then you take this hourglass of oops, I did it again, and you bring it down 3 times into what we call third dimension. That's what this has been labeled. Who said this is third dimension? That's only their idea. And science isn't always correct. More times than not, it's not correct.
Well, and they're constantly learning more and more every day.
Yes,
It's like, wow. What we
actually,
thought was true for years, for centuries and millenniums is not true.
no,
You know.
actually, a physicist said to me, Sherry, you're at least 200 years in the future. I go, hey, more than that. And he said, you scare us because we did all this education and you know more than we do. I'm not bragging. This is what this physicist told me. He said this. And now you take that hourglass into this third dimension and you start turning it. Isn't that what this does? You turn it. It's the DNA. The DNA is a pattern. It's a matrix. It's a template of duality to keep people trapped. And that's how we are controlled through our left computer brain that goes to the male right side, non gender. Recreate, recreate, recreate. Profiles, behaviors, and roles. And in this book, it explains why we have been controlled through our DNA. And perhaps our DNA is not really human. Ooh.
Oh dear, now that's a whole new subject.
Yes, it is. And it's in this book. It is in this book. And when people ask me to prove it, I don't have to. I am proof.
You can prove. Sherry has also has a book of, and you can find it on Amazon. It's called the Sherryisms, and she believes that the use of our of words, and she really expands on the use of words. And in this book, it's her book of Sherryisms. and it's beautiful. So that would be another book you could pick up, and they're available in Kindle and in the paperback form. So be sure and check that out. It's pretty very interesting. So
Indeed.
Sherry, we know that there's a lot of things happening in our world right now. Um, Canada's been going through some major upheavals. Our country everywhere, I think. With COVID, there's been all kinds of things going on. When will our is our world going to turn for the better? Will we ever kind of learn that war is not good, that the unrest, the all these things, the illness, everything, will we get to that place where we will understand it?
Well, you read this book and you will. You read this book and you will comprehend it. And the fact is, one person makes a difference. One person makes a difference. And so that has been my supposition, and it's worked because I've been doing this for over 30 years. And I have watched people let go of stage 4 cancer. I did not heal them. There's no healers out there because that's still the outside in. All I do is provide tools to assist people to step into their own power. It's about resonance. Duality is a resonance of fear. Duality is fear. It's every program of fear. But the basis of duality's fear program is to keep everyone a victim. And when someone stands up against the crowd, they're crazy, or these truckers, I laud them. You don't see the scientists standing up, do you? Mm-mm. And if they do, they mysteriously and miraculously disappear. How unusual. And that's been going on for centuries. This is not the only pandemic that we have had, Becky, over the centuries.
Right.
And the same emotional issues, going back and doing research in Rome, Sumeria, going way back, there were still, they had depression, anxiety, all of those things. In the 20s or something, they called it the vapors for women. It was ridiculous. Depression is emotional, and it is the uh, it's unbelievable sadness. Anxiety is unbelievable expectations. Depression is such deepest disappointment. Addiction is desperation for attention. And who gets it? And what does duality do? Duality propagates illness so you can't be in your power. And the ones that step up, they're the ones that are creating the new earth. I talk about the new earth in here and how you do it. And I take all the woo woo out of what's dimensions. Becky, in your house is dimensions. Your bedroom's a dimension. Your living room's a dimension. Your bathroom's a dimension. And it's like walking through a door into a different dimension from, your living room and down the hall or whatever into your bedroom. So we are multi-dimensional beings. Why? Look at all the systems that we have inside of us. We have a circulatory system, we have a digestive system, and when they are in unison with each other, guess what happens? It's called health. So, how do you do it? The more conscious you become as one person. And one of my clients across the country stood up at her age to the politicians in the town, and they did not implement a ridiculous edict called the law. One person, this person got it. So we are all one person that can make a difference, but we must start with our own life.
Hmm.
And that's why the
Totally.
tools in this book. And I have another one, Take Back Your Power, You Becoming You. It's about power, not force. Duality is force. And duality takes your own power away. Power is who you are. It's your resilience, it's your health, it's your determination. And you asked about the God program. The God program in duality is, my God is better than your God. And they come in all different. So when people ask me if I believe in God, I go, which one? You are God. You're just not a God. And I actually give you the steps of how to become the God within you. It even says, if we're made in God's image, why are we less? If Jesus
Mm.
said, you can do as I do and more, why do we do less? because of duality that controls the left computer brain. So we recreate the same thing, and we do it again. And that's why this and the DNA and twisted, it's the same matrix. It's the same programming. They're going to get you, but they can't when you become conscious. They can't.
Fascinating.
Yeah, they have been, they have controlled through fear. And fear is to make everybody a victim of something, of something, and perpetuating these duality belief systems. And you don't have to.
That's fascinating. Wow, there's so much to this, and I know when as we were going through the book to get this ready for publishing, there it's not something, it's not a read that you can just down and not a fiction book that you can just sit down and breeze through. It's something that really gives you a lot of thought to ponder and really understand. We will be doing another interview later this afternoon at 3 p.m. Mountain Time. And in that conversation, we'll be talking about the paradigm shift, about artificial intelligence, about more about the emotional core of illness and disease, and really understanding how we can choose to take back our own power and what all that entails.
Absolutely. You have it inside of you. It's intrinsic. And I actually talk about in this book, Becky, of becoming a real human, not a human that's controlled and manipulated in the controls, in the con jobs that we have been perpetuated to keep people separated. Duality is also a separation program to separate you from yourself and then from others. Because what happens, one person, and then it's two, and then it's four, and then it's eight. It's a mathematical equation. The more you become, I honor those truckers. I honor those truckers because they're standing. They're the ones that move our food. They're the ones that deliver supplies to us. And they have stood up collectively. And it's time for everybody to start standing up. If you don't, I can't tell you what the dire circumstances are, but it's called death. And there's not going to be this time, oops, I did it again,
Hmm.
because of all the circumstances that you'll read about in the book that's happening. I've known this information for many, many years, many decades. Started out as a very conscious child at three, at 3 years
Amazing.
old. And one of the questions I asked my mother, because I didn't have the terms, the wordology, I said, why do little kids have big lights and big people have little lights? That was the or electromagnetic bioenergy, whatever. Everybody wants to own that part of you. So they made up all these different, it's the same, it's your field, but it's from the inside out. But we've been taught it's from the outside in. And this book, Busting Out of the Matrix, Be Free, is to free you. This is the lifetime. This is the timeline. Exactly. And there are some that aren't going to make it because
Right.
they choose to hang on to their belief systems. Because duality is right and wrong, good and bad. They would rather be right and die than be correct and live.
Wow. Interesting. Fascinating. So there's so much that can go into this conversation, but I still, I've always observed that becoming aware and understanding things like this causes a ripple effect. And each person that starts to get it and understands that, it has a vibrational effect on our world, and it causes others also to start waking up. And
Yes,
it's
because we do not require any more awakenings. If someone says it's time for awakening, I'm gonna have to throw up. I'm sorry.
I just said
Awakenings in Greece and Rome and China, millions of years, hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago, millions of, we've had so many awakenings on this planet. This is wake up. This is wake up. And I'm an alarm clock. And I love being an alarm clock. My goal is rattling molecules, rattling people's molecules. Because the molecules of emotion, even Candace Pert, the scientist, she's not even here, wrote about it. But I've been writing and talking about this since 1991. from an experience that happened to me when I discovered through an accident and actually dying. It was quite extraordinary that I was given these dire predictions. No one can predict your life. No one. But I get tests. I even tell my clients, get tests so we can see, what the bottom line is. But no one can tell you. But that happened to a relative of mine. But she was told you'll be dead in 6 months. And for some reason, years ago, I tracked it 6 months to the day she was dead. You can't give your power away. Your body is smart. Your intelligence and intellect is your cellular memory, not the memorization of duality. Because duality is to memorize it and pass the test. But you can't pass the test in duality. You can have it and then you lose it. And then you have it and then you lose it. But now it's changed. And there are a lot of people that are going to be having very many challenges physically. So if you wanting needy to be right, you can die. But if you choose in what you require, desire, and deserve, language has a resonance. You live. And that does cause the ripple effect. So now it's time to be a tidal wave, a
Awesome.
tidal wave of consciousness. And that's what this book is about. And by the way, I have to mention, there's so far I know that there's 9 reviews, all 5 star.
Yes, there are some beautiful reviews on your book right now. That's truly awesome. So, for those that are listening or will be listening, we will have another interview today at 3 p.m. Mountain Time. Join in the conversation. There is on Facebook and in YouTube. There is a chat box that you can make comments in. If you have questions, we'd be more than happy to um, check into that. Sherry's website is sherryanshara.com. You can pick up the book at getbook.at Busting Out of the Matrix with all the first letters it's in the chat, so if you can find it. It's also in the comments for announcing our interview today. Thank you, Sherry. This has been beautiful, fascinating, and we look forward to really picking up this conversation later today as well.
Thank you, Becky, and thank you for being the publisher. You got
You're
more to
awesome.
do.
You're very awesome. Thank you. We'll
So
see you all later today.